Well, hey there, Grace Youth. For the last couple of weeks, we discussed Jesus' distress, Jesus being wrongfully tried, brought before Pilate, beaten, mocked, shamed, and then hearing the people cry out, "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him." As we have read through the book of John, Jesus alluded to this. He alluded to this moment from the beginning of his ministry because he knew his purpose. He knew what he was called to do. He knew the reason he was born. He even told Pilate in chapter 18, verse 33 through 38, when he was asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say to you about me?" And then Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" And Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from this world." Then Pilate said, "So you are a king?" And Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" What is truth? Jesus said in John chapter 14, verse 6, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And Matthew 16 gives us more insight to this way in verse 24 through 25. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." There was one road for Jesus to take, and it was paved before the foundations of the world. And that road, paved by God's sovereign plan of redemption of man, led Jesus to the cross. And it is on the cross where we discover, it is where we, the dead, are made alive, where the guilty are made righteous. Guilty of what? Guilty of sin. And what is sin? Sin is transgression against God's law. It is the attitude that we inherited from Adam and Eve when they took part of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and their actions declared to God, "I will define what is good and evil. I don't need your law to define what is good and evil." Man declaring, "My will be done," rather than God's will be done. This is the nature we were born into. Romans 3:10 through 12 declares, "As it is written, none is righteous, no, not one. No one understands, no one seeks for God. All have turned aside. Together they have become worthless. No one does good, not even one." What is righteousness? We looked at a Bible dictionary that described righteousness as conduct in relation to others, especially with regards to rights of others in business, in legal matters, and beginning with the relationship to God. It is contrast with the wickedness, the conduct of the one who, out of gross self-centeredness, neither reveres God nor respects man. What does righteousness look like? Jesus answers that question when confronted by the scribes and Pharisees when asked what is the greatest commandment in Matthew chapter 22, 36 through 40. And this is what he says: "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend the law and the prophets. Love God, love others." Have we loved God? Have we loved others? No. We have fallen short of loving God and loving others. Jesus lived a life of righteousness on our behalf. And because Jesus lived this righteous life on our behalf, we have been justified in the eyes of God because of the exchange that happened at the cross. It was Jesus' righteousness placed upon us. It was our sin placed upon him. And it was at the cross, the purpose for which Jesus was born, that man finds his righteousness through faith in Christ. And through faith in Christ's life lived and faith in Christ's death on our behalf. Jesus' perfect life imputed, placed on us, meaning that everything we have done that goes against the love of God and the love of others, the transgression of God's holy law, all that was incurred that deserves the wrath of God in our life has been paid for, accounted for. And God the Father now looks at you, looks at me as a righteousness of Jesus. That was our discussion last week. Tonight, the resurrection. And we'll conclude our study of the book of John. The resurrection is proof positive of all Jesus' claims and is our reason for faith. Jesus did what he said and said what he did. We opened our study with the purpose statement of this book found in this chapter, and I'll close with the same. John chapter 20, verse 30. Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book, but these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Have you believed? Have you trusted? If so, you've been made alive. If not, what are you waiting for? God bless you. I'll see you tonight.